All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our very first live stream here on YouTube. So hopefully you're able to hear us, and please bear with us if there's some technical difficulties and stuff like that. But we're excited to start doing this hopefully on a more regular basis. So today's kind of just kicking this off, kind of trying to get all of our technology and all that kind of stuff set up and working. So we're excited. Today we're going to be chatting with Hunter Starnes, and he, over the last month, did basically 30 videos in 30 days, an everyday challenge. And that's something that I've been doing for a little while too. And so I thought it'd be really cool just to chat about that. Kind of there's this whole idea of perfectionism. And I know for myself, I'm very much a perfectionist when it comes to things, but when you're doing something every single day, you have to figure out kind of where that balance is. So excited to have him with us today. And so with that, Hunter, if you want to go ahead and give us a little intro to you.
Oh, wow. Okay, no pressure. Intro to me. So I am a Fort Worth-based wedding filmmaker. I have a wedding production company that I run with my two brothers. And we also do some commercial work and things like that. Basically telling stories through video, which is something I'm really excited to do. That's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Hunter and his brother came out and actually filmed our wedding for us too. So there's a nice connection there. And we collaborated on a couple of different projects over the years. So that's been really fun. I really enjoy your work, and I feel like there's so many people that do weddings and it just feels all the same. Like it's like it all fits in like one sort of, like, feels a little bit like overtly run and gun, not very polished. But I feel like what you guys do is like you're still run and gun. You're able to capture those moments, but still that really high end like cinematic feel to that. So yeah, good. I'll always enjoy watching all the videos that come out from you guys.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's a balance between putting out what you're expected to put out, the quality that your clients are expecting of you, and then also being fresh and different and telling the story of the two people who are getting married.
Yeah,
so that's always a nice challenge.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, so we're obviously, I kind of pitched the whole thing of like the everyday challenge and all that kind of thing. So maybe just give me a little bit of background on what got you inspired to do the everyday challenge, or maybe explain what the everyday challenge is, and then kind of like what got you into doing that.
Yeah, so first off, I have to say your title was a little bit misleading because it was 30 videos in 30 days. I did make it over the span of 32 days, so I missed 2 days.
Gotcha.
I was filming. It was because I was doing other projects and things like that, but it was 30 videos over 32 days. But what really the motivation for this was because of the situation we're in right now, because of the pandemic and everything. I really wasn't finding myself behind the camera very much. I was still doing a lot of work. I was sitting in front of the computer a lot, things like that. I really just wanted to get out and have an excuse to get out and film something. So I wouldn't get rusty, for one, and two, just because that's really what I enjoy doing the most. The idea came from a video that I watched. Well, it's actually audio. It's audio on Vimeo, but it's a video by this a guy named Darren Doan, and he talked about, in his talk, it was about being a Christian filmmaker. In his talk, he talked about challenging people to go out and film 30 sunrises and 30 sunsets consecutively every day. And he said that if you did that, then he would hire you the next day and to work for him. And as of the time that he gave this talk, which was about 10 years ago, nobody had done that. And I thought, I could do that. I could totally do that. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, maybe I can't, I talk that, I talk the talk, but now it's time to walk the walk. So that was really what got me thinking about it. And then, so that's where the idea originally came.
That's really cool. So okay, so you said it was on Vimeo. I feel like I've heard somebody either reference this or something, because I remember like it had been like 10 years ago when I heard it. Maybe not quite that long. I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, man, that can't be that hard. Like, and then I was like gonna do it, and then I never did it. So I feel like I just like proved him right. So yeah, that's really cool. So with the everyday challenge, so when did you start? Like, kind of give us some background on kind of the technical, like what was your parameters, if that's the right word for that, in setting that up.
So there really weren't a whole lot of parameters. I wanted to keep it loose. I wanted to keep it fun. Um, I did want to challenge myself to do something different for every video. So I would, and this really wasn't anything planned, but I would try to do at least one thing different that
Mm.
I needed to work on for each video. So, for example, it might have been cutting the video together to music that I don't normally use in any of
Mm.
my other videos. So choosing a different beat, a different rhythm, a different style, um, made it kind of fun to edit these videos. Another thing was to, like challenge myself to use maybe just one lens. Challenge myself to be in front of the camera, which is not something that I'm very good at. Challenging myself to, I don't know, just use limited number of gear and things like that. So
Yeah.
it was just something I thought about on the day of for the most part. I did have a list of videos that I came up with and that other friends came up with for me and mentioned. And I would just sort of choose from that list based on what I was doing that day and
Mm.
whether I thought I could accomplish that video. So really, it was very loose, very run and gun for the most part. And oftentimes, I would start doing something, and then I would completely change what I was doing, or it took a different direction than originally what I thought I was going to be doing that.
Yeah.
So
That's really cool. So, going into it, I mean, you have a certain expectation. Was it easier or harder than you anticipated going into it?
I mean, in some ways it was easier, in some ways it was harder.
Yeah.
I think it was harder. That's actually a really good question. I think the hardest thing was thinking about filming before editing. So that's not something I mean thinking like an editor while filming so that I
Sure.
can minimize time and on the computer actually editing things together. That's not something I normally do. Doing weddings,
Mm.
I do a little bit of that, but it's mostly capturing events and moments and then later on figuring out how to put it all together in a cohesive story. So thinking of the videos I was making beforehand and how to edit them was a challenge. And so that was harder, just not harder so much as just a mind shift, maybe than how I typically work. Um, mm, you should have warned me about this question. I should have thought about this more.
Yeah. No.
Um,
Because I feel like I've been doing an everyday challenge too here for a while, but I feel like a totally different world though because mine's in design, yours is in like video, which I feel like would be way harder because there's more steps to the process that you have to do every single day. So
you would think, but when you mentioned how much time you spent on each poster, that was about how much time I spent on, my videos.
which I
So,
don't know if
I
that says
mean,
something about my perfectionism. I feel like the video should technically take way longer. But anyway, I guess it's just like for me, it was like I didn't think a ton about it jumping in. It was just kind of like, well, this could be a really cool, like, fun thing to do, and I've always wanted to do. But then actually getting into it's like, oh man, like, was there a certain point for you that it was like you kind of? I feel like you reach the point of like critical mass where it's just like you have you have so many other things going on that day, plus you still need to do a video. Like, was there a certain day in the 32 days that day was like, oh man, like, why did I say yes to this?
for sure, for sure. And one of the days was a prep day for a shoot that I was going to be on. So this is for a commercial shoot, and I went out the day before and did a tech scout with the producer and director, and that it's an hour-long drive out there. Well, more like 45 minutes, and then 45 minutes back to my place, and then we spent like an hour there, and then I had to do a ton of gear prep the day
Mm,
before. So there was a point where I was like, well, I might be able to knock out this video. I have no idea what I could possibly do to get a video out today. And I know that the next day was going to be an entire day of filming. I thought possibly I might be able to put together a BTS video,
mm,
but the way that I work, I usually forget to take out my phone and take BTS, like just a
yeah.
quick picture. So I thought the likelihood of me doing a BTS video while also trying to produce a good commercial was next to nil. So I pretty much wrote that day off beforehand. But the prep day, I thought, it's possible I might be able to get something done. I didn't know what it was going to be. Well, it just so happened I had my camera. I was driving back from the Tech Scout, and I saw this interesting looking scrapyard. And I was like, okay, interesting. You know, I've always wanted to go into a scrapyard and film the cars and things that were in there and just see what I found. You know, there was so much texture, you know, rusted metal, old paint, just things like that that would be really interesting. So I stopped on the side of the road and turned around on the highway and then asked the owner of the scrapyard if I could just roam his yard for about 30 minutes and take some footage. And he kind of looked at me a little strangely.
Yeah.
He was like, you know, why?
Yeah.
You know, why would you possibly want to do that? But no, so I did that, and I didn't have any gear really to speak of. I had my camera, I had my zoom lens that I use all the time. I did have a polarizing filter, and then I had a Pro Mist filter, which I had been testing. So basically, I shot the entire video handheld and tried to make it work with what I had.
Yeah.
But that was so that was an instance where I didn't think I'd get a video done, but I ended up actually, you know, doing that. There were some other times where I would start a video and then it just changed based on the time that I had.
Yeah.
Or didn't have, rather.
Yeah.
And just the concept not really working out. So
no, I feel like that's something I can really relate to, because so much of the time it's like the hard part is knowing how much to, like, you have an idea in your head and you're like, if this idea doesn't work, it's going to be too late to do something else. So it's almost like you have this thing in your head where it's like you're trying to like gauge like how much effort and how much because it's like once you're halfway into it, you've already used up at least half of the time you're going to have to do it in that day. So it's like to start over and do something easier is actually going to take longer than trying to finish the version that you started, but then you'll usually end up spending more time than you should and all that kind of stuff. Was there any balance that you found, like, or even, I have a lot of different questions. let me give you one at a time. So like in terms of, let's just say with the video example, I love that one you did of the scrapyard. That kind of resonates with me because growing up, I always wanted to own a junkyard. So, you know, but that did change after a while. Now it's like trying to get rid of junk a little bit, but I still think it would be cool.
My room is a junkyard, so, you know.
So yeah. So like, how do you, like with shooting that you mentioned, like trying to think ahead with the edit, like so often it's, you show up and if you just shoot something with absolutely zero planning and stuff, what did you have in your head to make sure that you would be able to have a video at the end of that didn't just feel boring and just like it didn't go anywhere, if that makes sense? Like, was there like, I always try to shoot an establishing shot and then close-ups and mediums and like, or do you have a certain flow that you do? Even I feel like this would kind of apply even with wedding filmmaking too. Do you have a certain sequence that I need to at least get these things, you know, kind of as you're planning that?
Yes, for sure. For weddings, it's, you know, it's always the same. I always have to get an establishing shot. I always have to get detail shots, and then I always have to get, you know, just your medium shots, everything like that. I am thinking of the edit in that regard, but it's different than this. I can't really say that I thought so much about that. I didn't think in terms of like, I need to get an establishing shot, I need to get a detail shot or anything like that. It was more of just like, what is interesting to me? And then how can I edit this together in a way that is at least isn't boring? So my standards weren't very high, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They weren't high at all. So yeah, no, that's a good question. I can't say that I really thought about it like that. It was more of, what is this video going to be about? And I even thought about like what music I was going to be editing to. You know, like as I was shooting in the junkyard, I was like, what kind of music would go well with this? You know, so I was thinking of the music beforehand, which is really helpful actually to me because that sort of sets the tone, and that sort of helps me visualize what it's going to look like.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question or not. I would say I didn't really think in terms of like shots or anything. I just basically shot what looked interesting to me, and then dealt with it later on in the edit. So.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool. It's just I always love hearing different people's processes too, because I feel like
Mhm.
that's something that I'm still trying to figure out with my everyday challenge, where it's like, how do I? Well, and that'll lead us into the discussion later about perfectionism too. I guess I won't get ahead of myself, but was there something that was, like, do you have a favorite experience from the everyday challenge um, that kind of
Mhm.
stands out to you?
Yes. I only have. I can just pick one.
You
Only
can do.
one.
I'll give you two. I'll give you two. How's that?
Okay, two. Okay, thank you, thank you. It's still not enough, but it's better than one.
Yeah.
So I would say first and foremost, going out in downtown Fort Worth and filming just random people out on the streets, asking
Mm,
strangers if I can take their portrait. And not just a portrait. Oh, by the way, it's a video portrait. Like I'm
gotcha.
actually going to be doing video. I'm actually going to be doing these crazy moves in front of you. Like, hey, I'm going to move close to you really fast, but it's a video, so just don't freak out or
Yeah.
anything. Because I'm shooting slow motion, so
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to get interesting movements. But that's something that I'd wanted to do for a long time. I enjoy street photography. I I am very hesitant to ask people if I can capture their photo or to
Mm.
bother people out on the street. And that was very challenging for me and a great experience because I expected a lot more rejection than what I got. I would say most of the people I asked not only allowed me to capture their portraits, but they actually welcomed it.
Ah, interesting.
And yeah, and they had fun with it. Maybe just as much fun as I did.
Hmm.
Um, I only had a few people reject me, and each time they were very nice about
Hmm.
it.
You know, that's
So
something really interesting because I feel like that's something I wanted to ask you about, and I actually have that one of those videos queued up so we can play it for everybody. But
mhm,
because I feel like that's something that I really struggle with too is being an introvert by nature. I don't
mhm,
I feel like I have this huge barrier of not wanting to interrupt people or like what are they thinking of me, like this is super awkward, this is so weird. Like I was really curious like how you just what your process was for going out there and doing that. But maybe before I have you jump into that, I'm just going to play this video for them for
okay,
people so that we can take a look. So I haven't figured out how to in OBS to actually like be able to play and stop videos. So like I'll just let it play and then we'll come back and then we'll talk about it. So I'll play it here and then
okay.
we'll jump back. So there we go. Now I have my audio. I got to add your audio in. Like bear with us folks. This is a live learning experience for us. It's our first time on YouTube, so I know. Except they can't even hear you yet. I gotta add your audio in. Give me a second. Yeah, you could literally say anything you want.
I'll sip my coffee really loudly.
Okay, now your audio's on though, so you gotta behave yourself.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, so I have this video playing in the background. They can't see us, but they can see the video. So I one of the things I really love about this is I feel like you captured like some of the like different emotions, and I really love just like the colors and I don't know. It felt really well done, and there's
Mhm,
just something about like the human face that's
mhm,
just really cool. Of like I don't know, like looking into people's eyes and that kind of thing. So I would just love to hear more. Like, I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but kind of your process for going up to people and saying, like, hey, can I film you?
Well, first, it was giving myself a very, very, very deep pep talk
uh,
before I did that. So just sort of like, okay, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, just um, basically before I approached every person. Um, but because like you, I don't like holding people back from something where they're somewhere where they need to be or something like that. I just don't like bothering people. But so basically, I would, first I approach them and just say, hey, my name is Hunter. I'd love to take a portrait of you. This is a video portrait. This is for a challenge I'm doing where I have to do a video every day for 30 days. And they'd be like, okay, yeah, awesome, let's do it. Or they might be like, okay,
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
And depending on the kind of reaction I got, it also changed the way that I filmed them. So I would just be like, okay, awesome, great. Just, look right here at me. Of course, I had to change exposure and everything first and change my settings. So just, hey, look right here in front of the camera real quick. I would try to chit chat with them just a little bit to make them comfortable. I didn't really have like I came up with a few things to say, but most of that went out the window as I tried to converse naturally with people. Because I feel like if you're trying to be fake with people or come up with a script or something, then people really, they know that that's what, they get it. They sense that you've prepared that speech or something. So I just try to be just authentic and real. And oftentimes it was me stuttering and just saying like, I don't really know what I want you to do, but just look here in front of the camera and smile, or something corny like that.
yeah,
So I got them to do different poses. I wanted to be respectful of their time, so I didn't spend a whole lot of time with them, and I usually just filmed them right where they were. I would check where the light was. I tried to get them backlit if possible.
sure,
Because of where the sun was, it was pretty strong, and just the challenges of filming in the city. So I wanted to make sure their faces looked good and didn't worry too much about what the background looked like or anything like that. So I might move them a little bit and position them somewhere, but for the most part, I gave them just very little direction. I didn't want to overwhelm them.
yeah, yeah,
Because it's overwhelming enough to have a complete stranger show up with a camera and a gimbal, filming you, not even just taking your portrait, actually filming you without, also him giving you direction and everything, and trying to make you act like a model or look like a model.
yeah,
So I tried to just give them very little direction. And for the most part, it was stare straight into the camera. And I'm going to move this camera up close to you or side to side, and just keep looking in the camera. And then also just give me a smile, and then maybe look off one direction or look off this way for me. I used a few of those shots. Typically, I liked the shots where they were staring straight into the camera. I wish I had come up with some better ideas on, like, for example, think of your favorite dessert, or some of the other things that I do when filming weddings. There are some little tips and tricks, like, like if you're talking to the groom, like, okay, whisper your favorite dessert in the most like sensual way you can in her ear or something, and so that usually gets them to like laugh, and because the groom will like, he'll ham it up a little bit, and then they both laugh, and you get some of those natural reactions. I didn't really want to do any of that, not for this one. So a lot of the cues that I normally use when posing couples didn't really apply. So yeah. Anyway, I wish I had thought of more cues to give people and more ideas, but for the most part, it was just look straight into the camera, smile, think of something that makes you happy. And then just kind of rolled with whatever they gave me.
yeah. That's really cool, man. Like, I kind of aspire to do that. Like, I think that the other, because we've done it. We had a project where we were shooting with the sheriff's department in California, and but we needed some like interactions with like officers and stuff like that, and it was like, we didn't want to necessarily just like go and try to find a bunch of extras and then have them come, and then it just feels really canned and kind of weird. And so we just went to like this public downtown area, and then the officers would go and talk to him like, hey, can I like talk to you real quick on camera and whatever, and people would just say yes or no. So we had them do it because they're like, this is so weird, but they went and did it because that's their job is to talk to people. They're a little less weird about it than me, I guess. And so then and then we would just
people have to listen to them too. Like when a police officer stops, they have to listen to you.
I guess so, something like that. I feel like now though it could be really different. Like I feel like people's perception has really changed even just in the last few months. But anyway, so then the aspect that always makes it a little bit weird when you're doing it for commercial stuff is like getting the signed release paperwork. It's like, can I film you? And then, oh, by the way, sign out away your life right here. So it's like it always feels a little bit weird, but that's cool with a personal project where it's like, did you do any form of release or did you film them saying that like, yes, you can film me or anything like that?
No, I just got a verbal agreement and told them that it was just going to be for my own, Instagram and Facebook, and probably nobody else was going to see it other than my closest friends and family.
Gotcha.
And they were good with it. So,
yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, what did you tell them of what it was going to be?
Yeah, so I told them that it was for my video challenge, and I tried not to go too deep into it because, again, I'm trying to be respectful of their time, and also I really want to use that time to film them, rather than talking.
Yeah.
So I just gave them a little quick spiel about my video challenge and how I need to create a video every 30 days. I would love to have you be a part of it if you wanted to. Probably nobody else is going to see this. This is for my own use. This is just for for me to grow as an artist. And that was really it. That was really all I said.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah. So, okay. So along those lines, that was, I think was that just one of the highlights? I think I cut you off from, you were going to say there was one other thing that you said was a highlight, but maybe that's train has left the station already.
Yeah. So, a highlight. I mean, there are so many others. I would say that the another highlight would have been the gym video, the gymnast video. So that was really a lot of fun to mess with. Well, basically to darken an entire gym, to set up a little spotlight, and then to just use the fog machine.
Yes.
Which I don't really have a lot of opportunity to use. So I used this. I dug the fog machine out from the attic. I had used it on a short film last summer. So it had been almost a year since I last used it. Dusted it off, try to figure out how to work it again. And so that was a lot of fun to do. It was also just very, since it was a big space.
Yeah.
At first, I tried to use a tripod and do some different setups. And then eventually I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go out and I'm just going to go handheld. And I'm just going to film whatever's happening and whatever my eye sees. So that was a fun experience to do, and I was actually really, really happy with how the footage turned out.
I do also have that one actually queued up here. So let me find it. Let's see here. How does this work?
And this is a bonus, but the Topo Chico one was also a fun process to learn how to do product photography and video. So that was another fun experience.
Okay, I see what I did wrong. I switched modes. There we go. Okay. I'm still learning this, guys. Okay, here we go. So, unfortunately, Hunter, you won't be able to really see it because
it's fine. I've seen it way too many times. I'm actually doing a root edit.
I was gonna say that. I love how you have just I feel like you did some Dutch type stuff with it, and then kind of just some really dramatic. What were you using for lights and the you said was some of that stuff handheld, or was that on gimbal, or how did that kind of go down?
I wish I had money to get I would have been able to get some really sick shots with that. It was all handheld. So I had tripod and I had my hands. That was it.
Sure.
Lights was my Aperture 120 so it was 60W. And then I had another Cane TV.
Yeah, no, I really love it. I love the speed ramp effect too. I feel like it tends to get way overused nowadays so much of the time, but I felt like it was something that worked in that case where it was kind of like, and then yeah, like kind of giving that weightless type feeling with like the Dutch angle and that kind of stuff. Was there anything you like something you mentioned like you wish you would have had the gimbal? Was there something some takeaways from that particular setup, or how did you get connected with them? Maybe just walk me through that kind of the process. Is it people you knew already? Yeah, just how did all that go down?
Yeah, yeah. This was for friends. Uh, Amy Terrell was the one who had the idea. So she's my good friend's sister,
Gotcha.
and Adam Terrell, and their brother has a gym, and so this is in his gym, and the idea was to just to go out and to grab some footage, and then also Tyler could use this footage for his website or however he wanted to promote his business and use it for. So that was the idea, and then I think a concept was thrown out there about having it in pitch darkness or something, and then I was like, well, why don't I bring my fog machine,
Yes.
and we can do that, and then we can darken out the gym and place these lights there and everything. So that was how it all came about. Um,
How
and
many
and
days in
then
advance were you like in touch with them, or was this like, oh,
ooh,
can I film tonight, or like how did that go down?
no, it was planned. It was
Okay.
planned. I can't remember how far in advance it was planned, but I did know. I would say a good couple of days before that that was what I was going to do. Um, and so I was able to plan out what that might look like. It might have even been a week before. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But that was something that I had scheduled on the calendar. Like I knew that that was the video I was going to do, which wasn't typical. I had one other video like that. I might have sent you this one, but it was titled Structure, where I went
Yes.
out and filmed with my good friend Corey, who was visiting from Nashville. I knew that we'd be spending the morning together, and he mentioned helping me with one of my videos, and we weren't quite sure what it was going to be, but I think maybe a few days before he mentioned wanting to check out the TCC campus downtown Fort Worth. He's an architect, and
Gotcha.
it's one of his favorite uh, buildings. I won't say ever, but maybe at least in Fort Worth.
Sure.
So he wanted to just like check it out and explore it and things like that. I had never been down there. I've driven by it, but I'd never explored the campus. So that was a lot of fun. But that was another video where I knew beforehand because he was visiting, we would be doing something like that. I would say that was the only two times that ever happened was where I was able to plan that far in advance. So the gym video and then the structure video.
Gotcha.
Let's see for the gym video, I had some shots in mind, some ideas,
Yeah.
and then as I got there, I just sort of changed it up based on the space and the other ideas that I had. And also, I will say that Tyler, he owns the gym, a fantastic gymnast, and he's also in the video.
Gotcha.
He took my camera at one point and got some different angles that I wouldn't have thought of getting,
Yeah.
because he knew what would look interesting.
Yeah.
And this was the first time I had done a video like this before, or a shot in a gym like this. So he got some great footage, which I use a lot of, and then that was actually where I transitioned from using a tripod to going handheld, because
Gotcha.
I gave him the camera and he went handheld,
Yeah.
and he was getting these other angles, and I was like, you know what, I'm trying to overthink this using a tripod and everything. I should just go handheld like what he's doing, because he's getting some amazing shots.
Yeah.
And since I was shooting at a very slow frame rate, I was able to do that. So I think we shot it at 120 frames per second.
Gotcha.
So it was a lot easier to go
Yep.
handheld when you're shooting that slow.
Yeah. Totally. That's super cool, man. Yeah, I'm actually going to, just for the sake, real quick. I do have that other architecture video, so I'm gonna jump. Oops. Let's see. That's not the right one. I think I have. Oh, you know what? I don't have it loaded up, so never mind. That was I lied. Sorry. That was Okay, I had the other one. It was like a product commercial. Is that one you want to
Topo
talk about?
Chico.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here,
yeah.
let me.
That, I mean,
I'm gonna play that one.
okay.
Let's see. Here we go. All right, there we go. Awesome. That was really cool. That's a really fun. I love the music on that one. So that's actually another question. Where did you get the music for all these videos and stuff? Was there a particular place you found that you used the most, or any? Yeah, the music thoughts on that.
Yeah, I tried to use MusicBed whenever possible, but also because my license allows for personal use. But if I felt like it was going to be used commercially or might be shared publicly, then I used Artlist.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so I tend to like what MusicBed has more than Artlist, but I think that one may have come from Artlist.
Gotcha.
I can't remember,
Sure.
but it was one of those two options.
Gotcha. Yeah. So what inspired you to do the kind of the product commercial type thing? Was there much planning that went into that, or was it just like, okay, what beverage do I have in the fridge, and like, away you go?
I didn't have any beverage in the fridge, so I actually went to the store and bought some Topo Chico.
Gotcha.
So I think I went through 4 bottles of that for that one shoot, which was good because that was all I had.
Yeah.
I love the Topo Chico. I really
Wait. So
got
okay,
it.
like, can I have this on record? You use that instead of coffee?
Well, I had already done the coffee one though.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, never mind. Okay, wait. Who
Remember that?
invited you on there? Let's see. How do I? No, I'm just kidding.
And that was one of my favorites. I mean, that was.
But see, you didn't mention it until I brought up the whole coffee debate thing, and then you mentioned it. So really, you're just saying that. I see how it is.
Okay, so I would say that was a labor of love, but it was one of my very first videos, so I didn't put as much time into it as maybe I did later on. I certainly didn't put as much time into it as I did with Topo Chico.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, but no, I would have to say if you gave me a Topo Chico or a coffee, I would take the coffee every time, for sure, without a doubt. So
I should not have even said anything.
sorry, I'm sorry, Andrew. Yeah, but hey, you started it, man.
That's
I was
true.
just,
That's true. I did.
You know, I don't think I even sent you that video as one of my favorites. So
Yeah, you're like,
I was-
yeah, he's not gonna play that one.
yeah. I was like, I'm gonna try to be sensitive to what Andrew,
Yeah,
might
yeah,
like.
yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
But anyways, okay. So back to the product commercial. Yeah. Any lessons or things that stood out from making that one?
Product photography is hard, but it's also a lot of fun. I relied on one video that I saw. I think it was from. Oh, it was a YouTube video about filming, and I saw this a long time ago, but I was thinking about it and watched it again before this. But it was on how to shoot a beer commercial with just I think they used a 5D Mark II or something.
Okay.
So it was a fun video where they took this commercial filmmaker, product photography filmmaker. I don't know what you call him.
Yeah.
He shoots beer commercials basically,
Gotcha.
and other commercials like that. But he usually uses a Red or Alexa or better gear. But they challenged him to film one on a 5D Mark II. And so there was a whole video based on that. And so it was how to get product shots using very cheap gear, using cheap cameras. So I watched that for inspiration. And then I tried to and that's why I chose the Topo Chico specifically, was because it looked like it was the closest thing to a beer bottle that I had.
Yeah.
So I did that. That was why I did that. And then, sorry, what was the question?
No, you're
I was
good.
just rambling.
Yeah, no, I was just like any things that you learned from like doing the kind of product photography, videography style for an everyday. Like any things that stood out in terms of like lighting it or any particular challenges.
So in the very small space that I had to work with, it was challenging to get the background far enough away.
Mm,
It was black duvetine in the back,
yeah.
and so I had to get that far enough away so that the light wasn't. It does a pretty good job of soaking up the light, but getting that far enough away to where you couldn't tell that it was a backdrop, and it just had to look like blackness. You
Yeah.
know, there was an interesting thing that I tried that I saw on that video was to cut some what do you call it? Like clear paper. What is that paper you use for baking?
Oh, like, oh goodness, you had to ask me.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
like it's a frosted, but it's kind
yeah.
of see
Oh
through.
goodness, what is that called? Okay,
That stuff.
I know what you're talking about. So yes.
Yeah, that stuff. So I used that stuff to I cut it in the shape of a bottle, and then I taped it to the back of the bottle to make
Oh,
it
interesting.
sort of stand out a little bit more from the
Oh
background.
wait, is it wax paper? Is that what it's
Wax
called?
paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was it. So yeah, so I cut some wax paper
Hmm.
in the shape of the bottle, taped it to the back of the bottle, and then that sort of gave it a nice look to it. And I
Yeah.
learned that that was a trick used in product photography, especially for beer commercials
Gotcha.
and commercials like that. So that was fun to learn that. And then
Yeah.
just the lighting was pretty simple. It was just like I can't even remember what I did specifically for that video. I think I just bounced my light off the ceiling, which was white, and then got a nice big soft light, and then I put another light as close to the camera as I could behind the bottle, but just out of frame, so
Hmm.
that I could get a nice, so I could get it backlit, and then also get a little bit um, of a flare in there.
Gotcha.
And then I think I used the prism that I have in order to get some more interesting effects. So just to play around with the light a little bit more and see what I could kind of come up with.
Nice.
Um, yeah. But that was also fun too, trying to figure out because I did have to think carefully about the transitions I would use on that one
Hmm.
because I didn't want it to be just simple cuts. I did want to use the speed ramps and some of the other tricks that I have seen in those type of videos. And so carefully thinking about how I was going to transition from this shot to that shot and what that was going to look like, that was a challenge. And that was a lot of fun to try to figure that out.
Yeah, that's super cool. Well, it turned out really nice, and I feel like so
Thanks.
transitioning a little bit as we get closer to the end here. I'd love to hear like if you have any like kind of like takeaways from the challenge overall, like like some maybe overall like, and then I want to end kind of on the subject of perfectionism and like
Mm-hmm.
that kind of whole discussion. But in terms of anything in terms of workflow or yeah, like just lessons learned from doing 30 videos in 32 days.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say the lesson I learned, um, well, it was very interesting to get friends' reactions to the videos.
Mm,
That was really fun. I didn't start doing it for people, but as I found, a lot more people actually liked the videos and followed the videos than I thought would. At first, I was just going to make it public so that people could keep me accountable,
mm,
because if you're doing something publicly, it's a lot harder to cheat.
yeah,
So knowing myself, I might talk myself into missing more days than I actually did because of work or whatever. But knowing that I had that audience there, I felt like I had to, not necessarily like they were, it wasn't like, oh, if I don't get this video out, I'm going to disappoint a lot of people. That wasn't it. It was more of um, these people are watching me. I have to get a video out, otherwise I'm going to fail. Um, and so that kind of helped keep me motivated. But it
mm,
was really interesting to get their reactions on what they liked about the videos that I necessarily wouldn't have picked up on or wouldn't have myself thought anybody would be interested in.
yeah,
Um, so, like some of my more humorous videos, people tended to like a little bit more than just if I was shooting or filming I don't know, a field of flowers or something,
mm,
using a prism, or which it was interesting. It was an interesting experiment in creating work um, that or making a video or uh, uh, trying to put the words together isn't really working.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel
But
like I can totally relate to what you were saying because it's interesting, and this is something I want to get into a little bit later too. But like the idea of like sometimes the videos you like the most don't actually
mhm.
perform. Like if you want to say perform in the sense of like audience appreciation or even on the
Yeah, it's
platform
not
likes,
it's not
comments.
appreciated.
Yeah, it's like versus like one that you just like put together and you're like, well, this is just a super last minute. I'll just do this thing, and then it's like people like love it. And so like yeah, I'd be curious like, and I'm kind of jumping in the middle of your thing, so feel free to go back to something else if you want
No,
to.
no,
But
no, no, no. You wrapped it up. You
okay,
said it exactly better than I was trying to say it.
okay,
So,
so
but I agree with you 100%.
yeah. So it's like, so I'd be curious, like, was there any surprises with that? Like like, what were some of the top performing videos? Like, oftentimes on social media they talk about faces and like that kind of stuff
Hmm.
performs really well. Or you said like more humorous content. Was there any like things that you noticed from doing 30 videos? Like, what types of things people resonated with the most?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I need to go back and actually I haven't looked at the number of likes or anything or compared like what was the most popular, but I get a feeling that um the hand washing one that I did
Yeah.
was probably more popular than I thought, and that didn't have my face in it, but it was, I don't know. People appreciated that, I think. I think the pineapple one maybe.
Mm,
The one where I talk to my dog, which that was probably the one that I put the least amount of work in.
yeah.
I basically just had sort of this concept, and funny. This is funny because he actually knows how to catch a treat, and so I wasn't expecting him to miss it. I was expecting him to catch it, but it ended up being perfect that he missed the treat and just had no interest in catching it at all. Um, I think it helped with the humor.
It was actually quite funny. Yes.
And then the one where the I was filming people. I think just the human element. I think you're right. People really are drawn to the human element. Um, and as much as we like to, or as much as I like to think that, you know, people are going to appreciate. Well, uh, let's just say if I put a lot less work in a video and it has somebody's face in it and that people can relate to it, and then I put a ton of work in a video where it's just like, I don't know, some scenery or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
The one with the human is going to get a lot more appreciation than the one with just, like a shot of a flower or something like that. So no
Mm.
matter how much I might think one may be technically superior than the other, or I spent more time on the other one, you're like, hey, but I use this lens on this shot with the flower, and then I use this LUT or whatever. Um, so yeah, so I think that was a big takeaway for me, and it was something I knew, but it was something that was reinforced as I made these videos.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Was there any other surprises or takeaways from? Because I feel like oftentimes we learn from repetition, and I think that's the cool thing about like an everyday challenge. I know that for me, it's like there's a certain element where it's hard to learn something, like hard to feel like you can risk doing something new because it's going to take you extra time and it's unpredictable about like you don't know how long it's going to take you to do something new. But at the other
Mhm.
hand, it gives you this opportunity to like try new things without like a ton of like you don't have a client expectation, you don't have whatever it might be. You can kind of feel more free to experiment. I'm curious, anything that you learned from just that repetition of doing 30 videos in such a short amount of time.
I think like what you said, it was really fun to not have expectations from other people and just to produce something that I could have fun with. I think oftentimes this sort of leads into I don't want to segue too soon into the
No,
perfectionism thing,
whenever you
but
want to do it, man, just go
um,
for it.
awesome. I can do whatever.
There's no
Really?
perfect time.
Now you tell me. Now you tell me. We get this far, and now you tell me that. No. But oftentimes I am when I'm creating something for somebody else.
Mm,
Um, this it's not um, this is sort of something that I'm constantly fighting, where I'm always thinking about what, for me, it's usually two people, a bride and groom, what they think about this shot, that shot, or what they're going to think about this music or that music, or how I edit it all together and everything. For me, it was fun to just do something that I was the ultimate judge. I was the only one that had to appreciate it. This isn't good business practice, by the way. Don't do this if you're trying to make money with your videos. I think it's a good balance between the two, right? Because I think the kind of work that you make, you have to have a little bit of yourself in it in order for you to take joy in what you create. So it's that balance of creating something for yourself and doing something that you're proud of, and also doing something that your client appreciates and is useful to them, um, and that they value. So it's that balance between the two. So
Mm.
this sort of helped, and you hear this oftentimes, where companies, I can't remember if this was Pixar or some other studio does this, where they require their artists to work on um, their own projects
Mm.
on their
Mm-hmm.
own time,
Mm-hmm.
like to dedicate a certain number of hours or something. I can't remember if that's a
I feel like
requirement or a suggestion or something
I
like
know
that. But
Google has, at least I think it was like Google's one that comes to mind. Like they give people like a certain percentage of their
mhm.
time at work to just work on personal projects.
I think that may be it. I think that may be it, and I think that's very valuable, because I think sometimes you can sway too much towards working for somebody else and not so much for doing something that you also enjoy.
Mm.
Um, like I say, you can go either way. You can make things that only you appreciate and nobody else cares about. That's bad too. I mean,
Mm.
that's shouting in the woods in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's hearing what you're saying,
Yeah.
or nobody cares. Even worse. Um, so that's a waste of time. Um, but there is a little bit of putting yourself in and making sure that you enjoy what you do, and also
Mm.
in creating work that is valuable to others. So anyway,
Yeah.
so that's sort of my big takeaway, was making work again that um, that was fun,
Mm.
and work that I wanted to well, just something fun that only I had to appreciate and nobody else really had to. And I was actually surprised that more people did appreciate it, more so than I was expecting. So
Yeah. No, that's super cool. And I feel like for me in doing some one of the everyday challenges too, I feel like it's like this fun. It's like at the end of the day, it's like you kind of look forward to like it's like I can be working on this client project all day, and then it's like ooh, and then I like it's now it's my time. I get to do something fun. It's
mhm,
like it almost like helped put the spark back in, because I feel like as full time video people, we can get kind of burnt out a little bit, or
mhm,
maybe a lot of it.
mhm,
I've definitely gotten burnt out where it's not even fun anymore. Like, I just want to like
mhm,
go do something. It's like, and it's like I want to go do something else. I want to go make a video, but it's like it's this weird thing of like when you have to do it. Um, Sometimes then you can get this weird like, and that's where I think perfectionism comes in too, because it's like, oh, somebody's paying me, so now I need to like have a certain expectation that I want to meet, or which
mhm.
but I also struggle with the perfectionism even when I'm doing it for myself. um, so I'd be curious if you had any
Same.
thoughts just in terms of like how do you, because my conundrum often is that you can have something that looks awful and then it's the last 10% that makes it work, right?
Mm,
And so sometimes it's hard to know like, okay, at what point is good enough, and
mm,
when is it worth giving it that extra 10% that makes it great, if that
mhm,
makes sense. Like I don't
mhm,
know if you have any thoughts
mhm.
on like, especially from doing a video every day, um,
Yeah.
what like at some level you just what's that classic saying, no film is ever completed, it's just let go, or something like that. It sounded better when
Mhm.
they said it, but um, yeah, just any thoughts on just like how do you know when to stop tweaking?
Mm. I I think that is different for different people.
Mm.
I for me it was, and this is something that I'm still thinking about and struggling with in my own work. How do I know when to stop is when I'm the only one that notices the things that I'm working on, and fixing. So if nobody else picks up on something, then I've wasted my time trying to fix it or make it look better or something. So for me, it might be the color grade or something. I can spend all day tweaking, moving around the sliders and everything and tweaking the color. At the end of the day, is anyone really going to notice too much if that, person's outfit is more red or not, or, like if their skin tones are perfect? So I think little things like that. So you always have to ask yourself. And also, I think having people watch your videos before you release them out into the world and seeing what people pick up on and what they don't pick up on. I think having getting feedback from other people is really valuable. I didn't do this for this challenge, but getting somebody else's perspective and not always relying on your own, I think is really key to figuring out how much time you need to spend on something and how much time you're actually wasting. And like how much of it is pride? Like if I release this video, people aren't going to think I'm a good, I don't know, I'm good at color correction or audio or something because, it wasn't perfect. Does it really matter that much? So I think it's critical to get feedback from other people, especially on paid work.
Yeah.
And from two groups of people, from professionals, from your team or other friends or colleagues who do the same kind of work you do, but also from people who have just no idea of the work that goes into the video, and just see what they say. Because that's your audience. That's all of our audiences for the most part. So I think that's key into figuring out when to stop and when to continue working on something. If other people see it as a problem, then you need to work on that to correct it.
Yeah.
Because I think we need to be focused on quality. I think I don't want to say that you shouldn't focus on quality, because you should. I just think you have to figure out where those areas are. And I think the only way to truly know that is to get feedback from other people. So yeah.
No, that's really good. I feel like yeah, like one of the things that we try to do sometimes with feedback is to like send it to like at least like three different people, and so if it's like if at least two people agree that something needs to, like, they didn't like a certain element, then there's a good chance a lot of other people will. If it's just like one person, or if it's those kinds of things, then maybe it's personal taste, those kinds of things. But having like you said, like kind of, and then even like you said, that's a really cool idea of like the idea of sending it to someone who doesn't know anything about film, because they're going to have a certain perspective, and ultimately most of your audience, unless you're making something specifically for filmmakers, like that's going to be your audience, and so what is their perception of it? So yeah, no, that's really good.
And I will say that's not something that I do very often, but I need to do more of, especially sending videos out to people who don't have anything to do with video or aren't creatives. Just sending them the videos and see what they say. That's something I need to do more of.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, no, that's super cool. So I'm really curious. So for me, in doing the everyday challenge, I would say, like, I usually only see what needs, like, it's like if this is my work. Am I in the camera? Right, here we go. So like, you know, to me, this is the amount of work it would take to do something amazing. I feel like I usually only land about here, and so all I can see about the work is like all the stuff that I didn't do that it could have done and could have been better. It doesn't matter across the board, design work, video work. Like I usually, it has this weird curve where it's like we'll get the client, I'm like super psyched and like, oh, this is gonna be so cool, like we can make something cool with this, and then I like start to get into pre-production. I'm like, I have no idea how to make this cool. Like this is just gonna be the worst thing ever. And like start to have some ideas and like, okay, like, and the client's excited and like those kinds of things. And then you like kind of ramp up to set. And then either I will be like super nervous because I don't know if this idea is gonna work when we're gonna film it. I don't tell the client that, but like it usually ends up working out. But and then like you shoot it, and then like for me at least, I'm like, I don't even want to look at the footage after half the time, because I'm like, if we didn't get it, I don't want to know because I can't change it now. Or and then it's like, and then you go into like the rough edit stage, like the first edit, and it's just like, oh man, like what was I thinking? Like this is how are we gonna
all
make
the
something out of
time.
this? And then it's like kind of starts to go up, and you're like, and then like the first like full complete draft, you're like, actually, you know what? Maybe we are gonna get something out of this. Like this could be cool. And then the longer you work on it, then at least for me, then it's like I keep liking it less and less and less, and then it's complete. I'm like, fine, I don't have any more time. We'll give it to the client. Client likes it.
Yeah.
Everybody else that sees it likes it. I hate it, but apparently it must not be that bad. And then a year later, I'll come back and watch. I'm like, you know what? Maybe that wasn't so bad. Like that's actually pretty good. So I'm curious, like percentage wise, or maybe just in general for you first, but then like for me with the posters, it's sort of the same thing where I do one every day, but I hate's probably too strong of a word, but I dislike 90% of the ones that I make. But it's like I have to put it out there, and I'm like, eh. It's like, but I can't take it down either because like the number of posts on my account is the number of days that I've done it so far, and if I took one out, then that wouldn't line up, and so it's like forcing me to kind of go through this thing of like having to still put something out regardless of if I like it or not. So anyway, I'm just curious your thoughts, from doing just commercial work in general, that kind of thing, or with the challenge, how much you liked, how much you didn't like, that kind of thing.
I mean, first, everything you said, I completely agree with. I mean, that's like my thought process exactly for every project. And I will say, I don't, when I release a wedding video, I don't want to see it again, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I have recently gone back, especially when the couple has an anniversary and they post their video on Facebook or something. I will sometimes watch it and I'll be like, oh yeah, that was actually really fun, or that little thing we did in that video, that was really cool. We need to do more of that,
Yeah.
And it's not always as bad as I remember it being. It's not always great, and I still like roll my eyes or just like, oh, like how could we have done that? Or how could we have picked that music? There's always that element in there, but oftentimes I'm surprised at how much I actually like the video now that it's released and I don't have to change any of it, or it's like it is what it is. So yeah. Anyway, what was the question again?
Yeah, no worries. just the idea of like how much of the everyday videos that you put out did you actually like feel like, okay, I like this one, versus like I don't like it but I have to publish it. If you had to say a percentage.
I mean, percentage. I can tell you right now, all the ones where I appeared in the video, I did not like at all.
I thought you did a fantastic job, man. You need to be in front of the camera more often.
No. I have not missed my calling. No, I am going to be behind the camera for the rest of my career.
Except for this moment, man. You're in front of the camera right now.
This is fun. Why did I do this again? I don't know.
Yeah.
This is. I'm showing you how much of how good of a friends we are.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm hating you right now.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, thanks for that. It's more of, I don't know, percentage. I can't really give you a percentage. I think, 100%. I don't know. Of the work that I didn't like as much. There were just a handful of films that I thought turned out a lot better than they should have.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was, I'm always thinking I could do more, or I should have done something else with that video or something like that. So,
Yeah. Well, and I feel like that's part of that is just the creative process. And I feel like some people are better. I feel like the weird thing is like at some level being a perfectionist works. Like you get noticed, you make better work. Like in terms of like if you're going to pick a end of the spectrum, like there's some people that don't care enough, and it kind of shows. It's like they kind of put out half-baked stuff, and I've definitely been guilty of that too, but like, and then on the other end, it's like, I'm so, like, I want everything to be great that either, sometimes then you actually don't put out, like, it actually slows you down from actually doing stuff, so it's like this hard balance of like, how much should you just do something, and how much should you make it great?
Yes. It's a balance that we struggle with for every single project, or I struggle with for every single project. There's one helpful video that I watched is from the YouTube channel The Future, Futur, and the title of the video is "Perfectionism is a Trap." But what they talk about is one of the things that they mentioned is that quality will come with practice. and you learn faster by making more stuff, you know? And so the quality will come if you focus on quantity.
Hmm.
Now, there's a point where you can focus too much on quantity, I think, and not enough on quality. But if you really care about quality, and if that's something that you really desire to make quality films, then
Mm-hmm.
I think focusing more on quantity would be good for somebody like me and maybe
Mm-hmm.
for somebody like you,
Yeah.
because we're always going to ask ourselves, like, how can we do better, like what can we do that's going to take this to the next step. So maybe if we focus more on the quality, then that's going to help us to, or the quantity, if we focus more on
Mm-hmm.
quantity, that's going to help us actually grow in the quality aspect of our work. I would say the same with someone who just wants to put out a ton of videos and not worry about quality. For one, you're probably in the wrong business, maybe, unless you're doing, like, I don't know, comedy or something like that, where you have to put out a ton of, or training videos. If
Yeah.
you're doing training videos, you know, where you have to put out a bunch of quantity over quality. Um, but if that's you, then maybe focusing more on quality and spending more time on your projects, you know, that may be you. I think most of us focus. I would have to say I've never met a creative who, maybe I'm sure they're out there,
Hmm.
but spent who didn't struggle with quality, with putting out a quality product.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we all, mostly across the board, I know I'm generalizing, but I feel like it's pretty safe to say that most creatives focus on quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that has to do with pride, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because we're putting a piece of work out there that in some way is a reflection of us. And I think there's a way where we can think too deeply about these things, where our work, um, uh, we think too much about it,
Yeah.
where how much people are going to judge us as people, as a
Mm.
person. How are people going to judge me as a person over, because of this video that I created, you know, as an example.
Yeah.
um, I think it's, all that to say is, I think we all struggle most with perfectionism than not.
Yeah.
So I feel like that focusing on quantity for most people is a healthy way to also achieve quality. Um,
Well, and I feel like, yeah, like
because
sometimes like repetition actually helps instill a certain, like, I know for me, something we've been really focusing on a lot lately is processes, and like just
Mhm,
like figuring out, okay, like once I figure out a good way to do something, take the time to write it down, document it. Like I used to be very,
mhm,
I don't want to say anti, but like I don't like boxes. I in the like personality testing, I'm 100% right brain. Um, so like I'm very like not super structured as like a person typically, and so but then realizing like when you actually have a system and a certain laid out way you do things, and like kind of that more structured system, it actually allows you to be more creative. Um,
mhm,
so I feel like that's kind of another aspect to that same thing where it's like,
mhm,
or another part of it just being like, rather than like you can get better, you can try to, I should say try to get better, at least you can either um, try to make big leaps but not as many, or you could do a lot of quantity and make small adjustments all throughout. I think that's maybe the key. I think often you can try to make the big leaps, but it doesn't happen nearly as often. Like sometimes you'll have like a big change and something will, but a lot of times I think we can only really change a certain amount to our work every project. And so then when you can do a bunch of projects, you actually can change quicker, even though you're changing smaller at a time, something like that. And that's kind of something I feel like you can get to pitfalls of, like even doing a lot of quantity is just you can get stuck in a rut, just like trying to do it just doing the exact same thing every time, because it's kind of easier to just, once you get in a rut, just kind of do it that way because you don't want to have to take the time to learn something new.
mhm.
But then the other element of that being like trying, I think, and like you said, kind of with each video, like trying something a little bit new, or maybe um, with some of our client work lately, we've been like, okay, if I really just think about it from the client's perspective, like what's their need, what's the thing going to be the best. We just did we're going to interview a one person, or actually individual, three different people about their story of working for this company. We're like, what would happen if we put all three of them together because they're all brothers, and like, and then just the dynamic, that would be really interesting. It's going to be way harder. I've never done it before, but it would be super interesting. It'd be really cool to try. And so we did it, and I think it turned out way better than it would have been interviewing each one, because they could kind of play off each other, and just there was like this fun element that came out of that. So it's like being willing to like do a lot of quantity, but like, and it's always so hard to judge to like how much to do each time, so you don't end up like, because my tendency is to try to change too much every single time, and then you just end up like, you can't keep up that intensity of changing everything up every single time. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's really helpful. That's also something to really keep in mind, because there are those companies out there or individuals who just phone it in for every single project. Like they do what maybe they're good at, but they do it the same way every single time. And there's a sense in which that's good, because especially if you're serving a client and they hire you for that particular video or something, but you don't want to be that. You don't want to be that. So I wish I could tell you there's a way to figure out when you're leaning more towards perfectionism, when you're leaning more towards, like just getting a video out to get the money and to pay your bills or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I think maybe going back and just working on something that you want to do, going back to the concept of working on your own projects, will help you to stay out of that mindset of, because the wedding market is, there are companies out there who are doing the exact same thing. And you're not growing with or you're not changing with the times. There are other companies out there, small, individuals who are innovating. So there has to be a sense in which you also have to innovate a little bit in order to stay relevant, but you also have to make sure that you're serving clients, especially those who booked you. Like for us, typically it's clients can book us like a year in advance, or even more than a year in advance. So you have to make sure that you don't change your product too much. So there's a little bit of that, but also you have to stay fresh too. So So anyway, I wish there was a formula. I wish there was a formula to which you could find out when you're leading more one way and not another, and change it up. I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like that's what friends are for too, which is like you mentioned.
Yes.
It's like they can help steer you, and it's like, come on, man, like, you just need to move on.
Yes, and you need to find the friends who are actually like, don't mind telling you when, don't mind speaking the hard truth. Like if you're just sending stuff to people and they're just like, it's great, it's awesome, no changes, then that's
that's not
just
super helpful.
thank them politely, but that's not really that helpful. Just keep finding those friends who are going to point out some of those things that that you need to work on. So.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Well, we're actually a little over time than what I was really going to do, but hey, I mean, this is our first time, right? We can kind of do what we want. And John Clay's not here, so no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so final question: if somebody else was considering doing an everyday challenge, what would you tell them? Should they do it? Shouldn't they do it?
I think they should. Yeah.
Yeah. Any words of wisdom or advice on how to not? Because I feel like the other element is just, it's like you have to figure out what works for your life too. It's like you don't want to kill your marriage or your health while doing it. But like any advice on like the sustainability side of like, how do you sustain that? With that. So how do? Yeah.
I mean, I think it depends on what period of life you're in right now. Like for me, I'm single. I don't have any other responsibilities except to my business or to friends and family. So which are very minimal right now. So I was able to do something like this. I would say, mix it up. Do some sort of a challenge, but you don't have to do one every day. Do it like one a week or two a week or something. Just modify it, but do something that challenges you in some way. So I'd say challenges are good. In fact, I'm going to continue doing them. Consider this an announcement. I don't know, but I'm thinking about
here.
right. I don't know, maybe. I'm going to try to just do something like a photo, like an actual portrait of somebody every day. So somebody who I meet out on the street or something, or friends and family that I'm around, I'm just going to do like a portrait every day.
Nice.
I'm probably going to hold off on that for a little while, but that's a challenge that I'm thinking about doing
I
for
love that.
myself. Another thing is pick something. I mean, I feel like it's good to do something either publicly or privately. You know, it doesn't have to be public, but challenge yourself to, like, I don't know, just memorize scripture every day or something like that, or just learn an instrument or learn a new language or something. I feel like that is going to, like, that's essential to just growing as a human. Um, and yeah, so definitely do it. I'm a big fan of challenges. I'll be doing a lot more of them. They're probably not going to be public. Probably not a lot of people are going to know about them.
Yeah.
But I'm always going to have some sort of challenge in my life.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyway.
That's awesome, man.
So
Yeah.
do it.
Do it. All right. Awesome. No.
Let's do it. I sound like a Nike ad.
Yeah, I know, right? Any other, anything else before we let people go today that you want to say? Any resources or tips, sage words?
I think I've spoken way too much already. I don't know how much of it's sage. I would say I'll send you a link to the Darren Doan talk, because I feel like it's a very good pep talk. It's not structured or anything like that, but it's a very good pep talk. I think he talks about a lot of realities that especially Christian filmmakers face. So I'll send you a link to that. I sent you a link to the video from the future on perfectionism as a trap.
Perfect.
Which I found really helpful. It's a short, like 4 or 5 minute video, but it's really good. I found that was really helpful. I kind of want to do a live stream with you where I interview you about your 365-day challenge, because that is way harder than doing 30 days of just videos.
Well,
so
I mean, it is and it isn't. It's the weird thing. I feel like in some ways it's similar. The advantage is once you're 100 days in, like, you have a little bit of a habit, So it's like I feel like sometimes shorter can actually be more difficult, or it's weird because I feel like, because I tried to do an everyday thing a while back, where it's like I'll just share something like a thought. It was called a daily thought on my Instagram. It's like I need to get my face. I need to practice like being able to make concise thoughts and then be okay with my face being on the internet. And it was really hard. Like, I feel like it was actually way harder, even though it took way less time than for me doing posters. And I feel like one of the things that was the key for that was that I really love doing posters. Like, if I had set every day, I'm going to exercise every single day, I would fail miserably because I hate exercising. But I love doing posters. And so, like, finding something that you actually really love to do as an everyday challenge, I feel like makes it so much easier, too. But, yeah, today's day 169 or 870, somewhere in there. It's one of those two. So
I mean, well, congrats on that, man. That's
thank you.
That's insane to do that. I mean, you should definitely, when you're done, we'll have another live stream. I don't have to be the one interviewing you, but somebody has to interview you and talk about that, because I feel like
we'll do it when I'm at like 366, like then I'll have like a full picture of like doing it for a year, and then
there you go.
Yeah, we'll plan on that.
Yeah, it needs to happen. It needs to happen. I'm gonna go ahead and set my calendar for that.
Okay, so. All right. Well, yeah, it'll happen. I mean, we know when that date is at this point, so that's awesome.
That's right.
Well, thanks again, Hunter. Really appreciate you coming on. It's super fun just to hear what. I love seeing your videos. Like, I feel like it's inspiring to me, seeing people going out there doing stuff. I feel like that's something that sets apart people who are successful and people who aren't, is people who I guess they become successful because they get out there and do stuff. They don't just talk about it, and it's so easy to talk about an everyday challenge or those kinds of things, but actually getting out there and doing it is super, super cool. So congrats.
Let's say it's very. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Awesome.
And thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point to talk about something. If not, like, because I feel like the wedding business is like a whole nother thing that we could talk about. It would be super cool at some point.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna just give people some outro information here really quick. But thanks again, Hunter. Really appreciate it. I'm going to switch to, I have my fancy button here for the outro, so it's going to play some awesome music for people. But yeah, so thanks again, everybody, for joining us. It's our first time live streaming on YouTube, so that is been really cool. Hopefully you found it enjoyable and interesting. We'd love to hear your feedback and comments if there's anything that we can do better next time other than have somebody else host it. But yeah, so if you want to leave any feedback in the comments, if you want to comment with your favorite, some takeaway or something, and leave a time code note. That way, if anybody else sees your comment, they can click on it and they can find that spot in the video. One other quick note is we did announce, I think earlier this week, we are not doing our in-person onset experience this year, but we did launch a virtual onset experience that you can check out on the website. So we'd love to have you check that out. And as always, it's the t-shirt. We just made these t-shirts. It's for our promotion program, but Do Work, Show Work Network. And we will see you guys hopefully in the future when we do some live streams. So anyway, with that,